replace a check valve today. Let's do that. Okay, so first up, what do? So first up, at least in my opinion, you got to hook up your gauges, okay? So if this is, you don't want to touch anything, because if you look down here, this is all the way out, so that plunger is blocking this port right there. So if I were to take this off and screw this in, it would blow oil all out. So you got to make sure that's all the way out, that's all the way out. Then you're going to take off this nut right there, this cap. We're going to put on our gauges on the top. So we have our gauges going into there. These are opened up, going all the way down into my recovery machine, into the inside of it. So this means it's sucking it out of the reservoir into my recovery machine, and then it's going to the out, into the suction on the rack. All right, so now after your gauges are hooked up, everything's in place, you then close this top valve right there. Why? Because if we look at, we're going to follow this down. It goes from an oil separator, the bottom of an oil separator, up, slate glass right there, up, into the top of this oil reservoir, right? So this is blocking, this is now closing off pressure from entering the reservoir. Now we still have one more place. Here's our check valve, right? And we know it's supposed to keep this reservoir about 20 psi higher than the suction. So on the opposite side of that, we'll follow that pilot line over to this suction group over here. So I close this. So now we have two ways of exit closed. This way of entry, this way of exit, and now we have one more line coming out, which is this one. But I didn't close it. Why? Because there's a hand valve down here. Now I want to also change this filter as well. But, so I'm allowing it to suck the pressure out, so it's going to suck the pressure out down there as well. So after all the pressure is gone, I am actually going to have to close this before I do the oil filter, or all this oil is just going to pop down and just kind of like, you know, it's going to drain down just from gravity. It's going to come out everywhere. So I need to close that before I do the filter. But right now the objective is the check valve. So if I look at it, I'm about 0 psi right now. So we're going to see how this goes, because if you look at it, it's bubbling a little bit. Some of the refrigerant, so refrigerant oil is, it has, I forgot what it's called, but it combines with the refrigerant that you're using. So it absorbs into it. Think of it like if you put sugar in a cup of water, right? Then it'll absorb into the cup of water. This oil has that absorbing agency with the refrigerant. So when you start pulling it into a vacuum, it's going to boil the refrigerant out of the oil. But anyway, so we're going to see now it's a slight vacuum. I don't want it too much into a vacuum because I don't want to suck in non-condensables, but we're going to kind of look at, you see, you still got a couple psi. So I'm going to keep, you know, recovering a little bit because my gauges have a little bit of oil, so I don't want to get too much oil in my gauges, and I just want to make sure that, you know, it's recovered well, it's good to go, and I can take it apart. Okay, so this is good to go now. A little bit more of a vacuum than I hoped it would be, but anyway, not bad. So got to make sure to hook up to the top. If you hook up to the bottom, you're just going to feed oil right into your recovery machine, and you're not going to have a good day. Anyway, so that means that all of this down into here should be a vacuum, right? So, all right, so now I'm actually going to take my service wrench and I'm going to close off this bottom. We're going to deal with this piece down here as, actually, I'm not going to close it off. Anyway, so now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this hose, and I am going to make sure that this doesn't have pressure in it. I'm just going to gently open this up. Just make sure that, you know, nothing crazy sprays out or something nuts. You know, I'm obviously fairly confident in my gauges. There's nothing wrong with it. So now you can see nothing's coming out. All good to go. All the pressure's gone. So anyway, now I felt comfortable taking that gauge off. So now we know for a fact that this is indeed completely at, you know, just atmospheric pressure right now. So we're good to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a wrench on there, a wrench on the top. We're going to unscrew that top, and then we're going to unscrew it from the bottom. And also, just as a side note, you can see I'm hooking up my gauges to a suction line right here, and I'm pushing through my gauges, so I'm sucking the refrigerant through my gauges, through the recovery machine, into the suction. I'm clearing out any oil that's still remaining in my recovery machine or my gauges, because I don't want that to contaminate other jobs. Anyway, so while that's going, we're going to unscrew the top, unscrew the bottom. We're going to take out our little check valve and put it on top. All right, so I undid this top, and you can see that the arrow is pointing upward for the direction of flow. Because remember, this holds back, you know, the amount of pressure. In this case, this one is 20 written on the side. So this holds back 20 psi on this side of the reservoir. So it will flow out into the suction group any extra. So if you look at that oil separator, that's like, you know, 180 psi coming through here, up through the sight glass, blasting its way into here at 180 psi. All the extra just pushes through that check valve, goes into this suction header, and now this reservoir will sit at around 20 psi above the suction. Our issue is this isn't doing that at all. And also our issue is that this rack kind of has issues feeding it to begin with. So we're going to take this off, and you can see that little gasket goes right in there, and then it goes on top. Now I'm just going to make sure that this isn't, sometimes I've heard they can get clogged. Nothing in there. Nothing in there. So we're just going to replace it with this one down here. Right? Got to make sure that little copper gasket's in there, and we're just going to screw this guy on just like we had it. Make sure that it sits right. Connect those up. Oh, by the way, to get it off, you put one screwdriver on there, one screwdriver on the bottom, and squeeze. And that's it. So we're going to screw this fella on. Rule of thumb, put it on as hard as it was to get off. And then we're going to put it on that top. Alrighty, so that's in there, good to go. And now we're going to change this oil filter quick. I guess I might as well just tack this on here as well. If you want to end the video here, all you have to do is hook up your vacuum pump to the top again, hold your vacuum, and yeah, then open everything back up. But for those of you that want to stick around, I figure, you know, we'll just do this one down here. So remember, I'm going to close this to the oil reservoir so it doesn't just pour oil out like crazy when I open it up. Now we're going to remove this one, that one, and then obviously we're going to have to remove all those little guys right there as well. Now, what pressure differential do you worry about for this guy? Well, if you read the manual, I have it on another video specifically for this. It actually says that it won't tell you, because given on the application, it doesn't know. You know, if it seems to be just holding back oil, you're going off an oil failure, maybe 5 psi, 5 to 10, change it. You know, if it seems like it's causing issue and there's a pressure differential, change it. If you're doing a PM and it's anything like, you know, 3 to 5, change it. Something like that. You know, comment below what you do. You know, maybe you do something a little different. So maybe it's good till 10. I don't know. I typically see the problems around 5 to 10. So you can see I took out all those screws. I took out that one. I actually had to take it up top because I didn't have enough room with my wrenches. You see right there, it's just too close to the space. So I took out that top one, popped it out, popped it off. And we're going to come down here, and you can see there's a little gasket in there. Now this new filter comes with a gasket, so we're going to replace that gasket, put this filter on. You can see that the other filter is black. Okay, there wasn't any pressure differential across it, so kind of weird, but it seems like it might have been holding back something. Anyway, we're going to replace it and see what happens. I figure we might as well clean it because we got to do the oil check valve, so I figure we might as well. And it looks like it might have been clogged. So anyway, kind of an interesting example, so let's give it a shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this degreaser here. We're going to spray it on this old gasket, and then we're going to use this 1/8 of an inch screwdriver to pry out the old one. We're going to pop that new one in. We're going to put it all back together and then pull a vacuum, and I'll show you that pulling the vacuum when we get to there. Alright, so pull your thing down with 29 inches of water column or 500 micron vacuum. This is good to go. You can turn it off and just let it wait a minute, make sure that that vacuum holds. You know, it's been holding for quite a bit of time for now, so I know it's good to go. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. All right, so now everything's all opened up, except this is still in just a smidge, so I can check the pressure, and you can see the pressure is good. It is, of course, my gauge is shut off. It's currently holding back the proper amount of pressure on this unit. So as you can see, it's doing good. The pressures are right, so this valve is holding back pressure in here. So I have this open over there, that one open up right there, and I have this one down here closed because I wanted to see it build up pressure to make sure that it builded it up right. So what's going to happen is when you open this up, okay, it's going to start feeding all your compressors oil. So you're going to see a rapid decrease in pressure, okay? Once all your compressors are filled with oil correctly, those oil floats are going to close, and then that pressure is going to start building back up. And depending on how your oil separator is and whether or not it's clogged and whatnot, it will kind of vary on how your pressure is going to behave. But anyway, so I hope that was helpful. That's how you replace an oil differential valve, oil check valve, whatever you want to call it, and an oil filter. So yeah, please like, subscribe, and all that. And I hope it helped you. Hope you learned something. If you have anything you want to comment about sharing knowledge and how to grow and develop as a person, comment below. And thank you. And that's how you do it.